Shortly we'll make Askara, but Rabbi, I want to talk about today, September 11. You may be seated.
Americans are gathering all around the country today, 22 years after horrifying tragedy, to remember, in our way, this is our way of remembering. Jews should be gathering all across the country, all across the world, because the evil that arose 22 years ago was not just an affront to America and the values of liberty, it was an affront to everything that we stand for as a Jewish people. It's impossible to read this week's Torah portion, Ha'azinu, that rings in our ears for weeks and weeks ahead of the holidays, I believe on purpose, to read Zichor Yemot Olam, remember the days of the world, and not hear at the same time Zichor et Amalek, to remember what this people Amalek did to us in the Torah. And what, you can't ruin the ending. What did Amalek do that was so bad? Lots of nations attacked us. Lots of nations have attacked the Jewish people. Do we teach ourselves to remember each and every one of them? All the pogroms? Do we know the names of all the cities? All the nations of the world that have attacked us? What Amalek did was it attacked the most vulnerable of us. It didn't line up for battle against the Jewish people. It attacked, according to Midrash, the women and children who walked in the back. What happened on September 11th was exactly that. Men, women, children on their way to work, on their way to school, in New York, in Washington, D.C., people on flights. They could not have expected what was about to transpire. The Torah, though, doesn't just give us the commandment to remember. It gives us the commandment to erase, timche, to erase Amalek, to erase their name from the world. And by every account, we have failed on the second charge. Only several books after the charge to erase Amalek's memory, Saul meets the king of Amalek, his descendant, and doesn't kill him like Samuel commands him to. He doesn't erase completely Amalek. And then many, many books later, Megillat Esther comes along, and Haman and his descendants rise up, and the rabbis teach us that this ends up being the cosmic conclusion of the Jewish and Amalek battle. We might have failed on one of the accounts to erase Amalek, but we always remember what they did to us. In this country, after 22 years, it feels to me like we're failing on both accounts. It feels like too many of us forget 9/11. Too many of us are going to stand at Starbucks lines and go about our days, going to work out this morning, and don't take a moment to think about the thousands of lives lost, the thousands of first responders who risked their lives by rushing to New York, the thousands of Americans who contracted illnesses as a result of their spirit of chesed, their loving kindness of wanting to help. All of this transpired as a result of this evil that erupted on that morning. And we have neither erased it, and we don't remember as well as we should as Americans. We remember really well as Jews. One of the things we can offer this great country to our neighbors and our brothers and sisters here is we can teach them how to remember. Because we have an awfully long memory. We know how to remember. We know how to gather together as a community and remember loved ones, to remember times of simcha and times of tragedy. And it's time, after 22 years, that we as a community perhaps lead the way. We are searching as a country for ways to remember. The Library of Congress has established a poetry section where people can submit poems about that morning of September 11th, 2001. What's fascinating is that the first to submit their poems were New Yorkers, but people have submitted poems from all across the world, from London, from the Far East. This has affected so many people's lives over the last 20 years and the global war on terror. And it feels like closest to home is the most challenging place to remember, because we take the thin veil of liberty that we enjoy for granted. It's difficult to live here every day and not take for granted the blessings that we enjoy. And so let us stand today, on this day, as we're about to recite the Elam El Rachamim in memory of all of our loved ones whose yurtzites are today. Let's stand and remember our community, our neighbors, our brothers and sisters who perished 22 years ago today, who have since perished as a result of their willingness to help. Families who will never be the same. Children who have now grown up to adults who still don't have answers. And let us, amidst this prayer, take a personal pledge that we will do our best to never forget. It seems impossible to erase this Amalek from the world. This country tried and tried. It couldn't do it. If we can't erase it, we have to remember it. And I feel like it's this community and communities like this one all across the country that can help lead the way in this grave effort. Please rise for Elam El Rachamim.
שקרא. השם ינקום דמם. אל מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, המצי מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר רקיע מאירים ומזהירים, את נשמות 3,000 שנהרגו ונרצחו, שהלכו לעולמם, ואת נשמות ג'קי ברדוף, פשע בת שמואליה, פרווין בת סלה, מלכה בת ירחמיאל, רחמל מנדל בן חיים, שרה בת נאורי, מוישה אייזיק בן חנן. דוד בן שמואל ויינטל, שנדל בדוב ובלה, ציוויה בת יצחק ובריינה, יהושע בן חנה ומשה, אליעזר בן משה, רבקה בת מרדכי ויונינה. I can hear. Menachem ben Mendel. Menachem Mendel ben?
Menachem Mendel David ben.
Ben?
Menachem Mendel David ben Zev.
David ben Zev. Reisel. Bat Yitzchak Eliesh. וחיה שרה, הרב הלל בן הרב, משה. משל בן אהרון, שלמה ורייזל, שהלכו לעולמם, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, אנא בעל הרחמים, אז תראיהם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמות, not yet, אדוני הוא נחלתם, ינוחו בשור משכבותיהם, ונאמר